Welcome to another episode of our series, The Origins of Peoples According to the Bible. Europe, a vast and culturally rich continent, is home to many nations. But have you ever wondered about the biblical origins of these European peoples? Each group has its own story of ancestry, and if you're curious about where they came from, there's fascinating genealogical information waiting for you. Stay with us as we explore the origins of white Europeans according to the sacred scriptures. Europe is a diverse continent, home to numerous countries like Germany, Austria, Poland, Hungary, France, Italy, and Romania, just to name a few. But did you know that the sacred scriptures actually mention the origins of some of these European peoples? In fact, in chapter 10 of Genesis, biblical texts reference the ancestors of certain European nations. If this is new to you, know that these texts are filled with symbolism and insights into the origins, regions, and identities of various peoples. Among the European groups mentioned, the Greek and Macedonian peoples stand out, as they are considered direct descendants of one of Japheth's sons. From this, we can already begin to form an idea of who the ancestor of the European peoples is. Javan, son of Japhet, is traditionally recognized as the ancestor of the Greeks. Therefore, we can infer that Japhet, based on ancient genealogies, Jewish interpretations, and other historical texts, is considered the forefather of Europeans. All of these sources consistently point to Japheth, the son of Noah, as the origin. Interestingly, the name Japheth carries meanings such as beautiful, pale, enlargement, or simply multiplication. Biblically, the European peoples are referred to as the Japheth peoples or Japhet peoples. Furthermore, linguistically, the European language family, which includes languages like English, German, Russian, Ukrainian, and many others, is also called the Japheth language family, in honor of their ancestral connection. The sacred scriptures, particularly in chapter 10 of the book of Genesis and in the book of Chronicles, discuss the ancestors of the European peoples. These texts reveal Japheth's lineage, including his 7 sons and grandsons. By analyzing the names of Japheth's descendants, we can begin to trace the origins of ancient Europeans. In ancient times, the Israelites referred to the European peoples as Javits or Javanese, specifically associating the region of Greece with the term Javanese, or simply sons of Javan. In the book of Genesis, we encounter the names of Japheth's descendants. Now, I will list the names of these key figures for you. The descendants of Japhet were Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. From Gomer, another of Japhet's sons, came Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. As for Javan, his sons were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. The biblical identification of Ashkenaz as an ancestor of the Germanic peoples is a fascinating and intriguing detail, one that remains recognized among Jews even today. Ashkenazi Jews, for example, still refer to regions such as Germany and other Germanic territories as Ashkenazic in honor of their ancestral connection. According to ancient biblical Jewish traditions, Ashkenaz is considered the progenitor of the Germanic peoples, including the Germans themselves. In addition to Ashkenaz, there is another biblical figure named Riphath. According to ancient interpretations and the general consensus of the Irish, who are direct descendants of the Celtic peoples, Riphath is believed to be the biblical ancestor of the Celts. Riphath, the son of Gomer and grandson of Japheth, is recognized as the forefather of the Celtic tribes. These Celtic tribes, spread across Europe, trace their lineage directly back to Riphath, son of Gomer and grandson of Japheth. In addition to Riphath's descendants, we find other sons of Japheth who are also linked to European peoples or regions, or peoples genetically related to Europeans. One example is Madai, mentioned in the biblical text, who is interpreted as one of Japheth's sons and is associated with nations that settled in the region of Iran, namely the Aryan or Iranian peoples. Biblically, the people of Madai are represented by the Medes and Persians. The similarity between the names Madai and Medes highlights their common origin. Madai is recognized as the progenitor of the Medes tribes, which include the Medes, Persians, Parthians, and several other ancient peoples of Persian ancestry, all tracing their roots back to Madai, son of Japheth. Another notable name in Genesis 10:2 is Meshech. Along with Meshech, we also encounter Tubal. Both Tubal and Meshech are considered the ancestors of the Russian, Ukrainian, and other Slavic peoples. The Slavic peoples trace their lineage back to these two biblical figures. Scholars of biblical genealogies and nations agree that Russia and Ukraine are linked to the lands of Gomer and Magog, with Tubal and Meshech as their ancestors. This understanding is crucial for interpreting the apocalyptic prophecies found in the book of Revelation, as well as in the Old Testament books of Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and others. It is essential to understand the names and ancestors of each of these peoples. For instance, Magog, Tubal, and Meshech are identified as the biblical ancestors of the Slavic peoples. Ashkenaz, on the other hand, is the progenitor of the Germanic peoples. However, it is important not to confuse the Germanic peoples with the Slavic peoples, as they have distinct lineages. So far, we have uncovered the ancestry of several European groups, all of whom are genetically related white peoples in Europe. Another biblical figure that stands out in the sacred scriptures is Tiras, who is considered the ancestor of the Italian peoples because of his connection to the Etruscans. The Etruscans are one of the key groups that contributed to the ancestry of the ancient Italians. The ancient Romans, descendants of the Etruscans and other Japheth peoples, have a fascinating connection to Javan, son of Japhet. Javan is known not only for being the progenitor of the Greeks, but also for giving rise to other peoples who were related to the Greeks, though they were not Greeks themselves. It is fascinating to observe that the names of Japheth's sons share linguistic similarities, despite the variations caused by differences in Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. These names exhibit remarkable parallels, reflecting the linguistic shifts that occurred after the event at Babel, where, according to the Bible, multiple languages emerged as a result of human wickedness. Biblical tradition tells of a time when all human beings spoke a single common language known as the Adamic language. This language, according to the narrative, was spoken by the first humans, the descendants of Adam and Eve. Today, the world is marked by an incredible diversity of languages. Thousands of different languages are spoken across the planet, each with its own history and evolution. A great example of this is modern Greek, the language spoken in Greece today. Modern Greek is a variant of ancient Greek, which has been spoken for thousands of years, dating back to classical antiquity. Over the centuries, the Greek language has undergone many transformations and changes in its structure and vocabulary, shaping it into the form we recognize today. Among Javan's children, we find Elisha, who is identified as the ancestor of the Greek peoples. Elisha, the grandson of Japheth and the son of Javan, is considered the progenitor of the original Greeks. The similarity between the name Elisha and the term Helen is evident, not only in English but also in Hebrew and naturally in the Greek language. Another of Javan's sons that sparks curiosity is Tarshish, mentioned several times in the sacred scriptures. Tarshish is the ancestral father of the Tarsians, the earliest inhabitants of the Iberian Peninsula. The Portuguese and Spaniards, though they also have other Japheth ancestors and some Semitic lineage, are primarily regarded as descendants of Tarshish. He is described as the son of Javan and the grandson of Japheth. Another son of Javan, Kittim, is consistently associated with the island of Cyprus. As a result, the Cypriots are considered descendants of Kittim, one of Javan's sons. Javan's fourth son is named Dodanim, although some scholars believe that there may have been a transcription error and that his name might actually be Rodanim or simply Doranim due to linguistic variations. Dodanim is regarded as the ancestor of the Dardanians, an ancient people from Troy. I could spend hours sharing more stories and biblical identifications about these characters and their origins, but I'll save that for the next video in our series, which will explore the origin of Asian peoples according to the Holy Scriptures. To summarize, European peoples are direct descendants of Japheth and are commonly referred to as Japheth peoples. Feel free to leave your thoughts on this subject in the comments, and don't forget to share the video if you found it interesting. See you in the next episode.